This is Lauren Morgan, and I'm going to provide you a brief description of the types of persuasion and audience analysis materials that you will be using as you work on your persuasive speech. I do hope that you will take just a moment to read through this particular document and use it as a reference as you're working on your speech. You'll see here in the middle section that there are 3 bolded pieces of information about the speech to convince, speech to reinforce, or speech to actuate. Remember that when you do persuasion, you are attempting to influence the audience. You can influence their attitudes, beliefs, or behavior. So when you do persuasion, you have to decide which of those things you're targeting: attitudes, beliefs, behaviors. You may be attempting to influence several of those at the same time, but you will have one that is overarching. A speech to convince is a speech that is really designed to affect audience attitudes, beliefs, and values. And what you're trying to do is get the audience to actually accept whatever idea, argument, or point of view you are presenting. You're not asking them to do anything. You're just saying, I think I have the best idea, and I would like you to agree with my particular idea. In the second type of influence, a speech to reinforce, this is again a speech that targets attitudes, beliefs, and values, but it could also target action. And what you're trying to do is reinforce what people are already doing or believing. So you will notice that it says you want to strengthen their conviction or motivate them to continue behavior. I actually tell students that speeches to reinforce are not the most powerful. Remember that when you choose a topic, you're really looking for 50% or more of your audience to disagree with you. You have a higher chance of persuading them if you get them with a topic that they actually don't already have strong feelings about. But if you find that your audience is already in agreement with you and you are thinking that you're going to be able to say, gosh, keep that going, or yes, I want to strengthen what you already think or believe, then that's a speech to reinforce. Finally, you can do a speech to actuate. This is a speech that is actually designed to get people to change their behavior or do an action, something that they aren't currently doing. There are actually 2 types of speeches to actuate that you can do. One that focuses specifically on the audience and the behaviors that they can enact as soon as your speech is over. Speeches to do things like encouraging the audience to drink more water, asking them to adopt a pet from a shelter, asking people to donate blood. Those are the types of speeches that are focused on audience action, that they, as soon as somebody hears your speech, they can go act and do what you've asked them to do. The other type of action is on a much larger scale. So if there is a large problem that might be affecting a local municipality, you could be affecting the state, it could be affecting everyone in the nation, then that type of speech to actuate, where you might ask them to become involved in an organization. You might ask them to work to contact their governmental representatives and change a law or change a local ordinance. If you're asking people to do something where they need to be involved with other community members to make something happen, that is often a different type of persuasion than that personal where the audience can go out and do something right away. You'll learn more about that a little bit later in another video about persuasive goals, claims, and organizational patterns. So keep in mind that you need to know whether you are doing a speech to convince, speech to reinforce, or speech to actuate. One of the things that's going to help you determine that is your audience analysis. And this little graph here at the bottom talks about your audience's attitudes and beliefs and where they might stand on an issue. You'll notice that it runs the gamut from an audience who is totally opposed to you or your cause, the thing that you are speaking about. That's termed a hostile audience. That's someone who is not willingly accepting what it is that you're going to say. Or if they don't like you as a speaker, they may not listen to what you have to say. On the opposite end is someone who is friendly to the cause. They already are in agreement with you. they already believe or think or behave in the way that you are acting, believing, and behaving. And so they're willing to listen to your message because they're already in agreement with you. Typically, when you do if you have an audience that's friendly to cause, you are simply doing a speech to reinforce. You're just saying to them, hey, we already are on the same page. Keep it up. Keep that belief going. If you're on the opposite end and you're facing a hostile audience, it's very difficult to persuade them because they are in complete disagreement with you. I actually tell students to stay away from topics where you have a completely hostile audience or a completely friendly audience, because persuasion research, for the length of time that they've been researching persuasion, says that persuasion happens incrementally over time. So it's going to happen in very small steps. You're not going to get someone in your short 6 to 8 or 8 to 10 minute speech to be able to change an opinion from being hostile to suddenly being in agreement with you. You're actually much more successful if you find audiences that are in one of these other spectrums. So apathetic, they're indifferent to you and your issue. In other words, they just don't have any feelings about what you're talking about. It may be because they're unknowledgeable. That's a great audience. You have a high likelihood of being able to persuade them. If you find a neutral audience, they're interested in your topic but uncommitted, that also is a great audience. You have a high likelihood of influencing them by providing them information that could get them to commit to an issue. Lots of us may say, when confronted with an issue, wow, I'm not sure how I feel about that, or I sort of feel partly in agreement and partly in disagreement. That might be a neutral audience. They haven't committed to either side, so that's a good audience to attempt to influence. And then, of course, a friendly to speaker audience is great. They may not know about your topic, but they like you as a person. Again, because they like you, they have a high likelihood of being able to be influenced by you. So one of the things that you will be doing is some audience analysis with your classmates and finding out where they stand on your issue. And knowing this little graph and having that piece of information can be helpful. So remember, you need to know whether you're doing a speech to convince, reinforce, or actuate, and then getting that information from your audience will help you to be more effective in doing your persuasion.